All right, so welcome today. So howdy, we're gonna do a quick commentary of my speed run I just done because I didn't have any or audio for it, so I might as well do a commentary over it. So get that started up right here. We're gonna go for a profile. We're doing New Game Plus for this any percent. I'm believing New Game Plus is faster for any percent. This is the one that you're allowed to do glitches in or the major exploits. So with this one, you can see we sprint jumping. I believe it is faster, but with that, running right into it. So with this in New Game Plus, you already start with a catamaran or your own boat that you finish the game with. So with that, we run straight to the starting island. I say starting island. We're gonna go straight to the end first island, which should be towards our right on there. So with this, as we're going, as you can see already, one of the big problems I'm going to have later throughout this run is the speed of my boat. And that's something I think that can be probably figured out a lot better. Whereas there needs to be a good weight differentiate so I can just have the boat being at full mast. I know a grass sail would probably do well with it. The problem with the grass sail is that there will be some points in this run where it's going into the wind that I definitely would require a better sail for that. With what's barely showing up now. But as you can see, so with chapter 1, we're already coming up to the first end island already. Very fast, very quick. Having absolutely no problems going into this. See, we are getting air with our catamaran as well. Whew, which is going to be such a heavy problem. But, so, going through here, we're going to dodge some of these coral reefs very closely. Pulling up to this end island. So, the first chapter island is always one of my hardest ones to identify where I should jump off at. This one is pretty good right here. But, as we can see with some of the later islands, like, island generation just doesn't really fit the way I'm looking for. You really want islands that are just easier to identify where to jump off of and easier to jump up on. But, so with through here, we're going to do a little kind of like clip up the wall. So you get yourself parallel to this one right here. Line yourself up and then run off the edge and just attack to zip up. So I did it just a slight bit wrong. I still had the angle without letting go, so I could do it a couple more times, but it's just not getting me up to the area I need to. So I decided to give it another shot, Set myself up. Doesn't work the first time. With these type of clips, you got to give them a couple tries. They're never going to be 100%. And so with that one, I wasn't parallel to the wall there. And so with this one, I believe I get it. Yep. And so it really just depends on how parallel you are to the wall. So on the first chapter as well, it locks your camera. So it's a little hard running up this first area. But 3 minutes getting to the first passage section, really good right now. So as we've learned before, running up that ramp with a sprint jump is technically faster by a few seconds, not even like milliseconds. But so even with this, we're able to land right on our catamaran without having to climb if we time our jump right. So what I try to do is once I get to the final red light, that little glowy light, I hop off the sail and just let it go. Because if you don't, there's a cutscene that you start to go so much slower on. Because I should not have gotten that close to, I guess we'll call her the mother snail. I should not have gotten that close to her. But because I was not holding my boat, it just let me go. So with this, you can also see that my sail is, almost half-mast. I play with it back and forth going here or there, but that was a super quick first crossing. Going out here with, the bamboo catamaran all the way. Bamboo holes, bamboo deck, and a bamboo sail. And we're going off of this first split with not even 5 minutes on the clock. If anything, it's about 5:45. Yeah. 5.5 minute gold. This is probably the best time save I get to have. It's a great one. But the main point for that is so the splits that I started using, I just duplicated my any percent. So I'm hoping that this category eventually splits into new game plus any percent and then any percent, or like new game, just to the fact that I saved 5 minutes on the beginning of my new game or my new game plus just by not collecting any material. Same with chapter 2, I can save time if I get good RNG and I'm able to get to the islands quicker. And so it's one of those things where as long as I end up having very good RNG, I'll be able to just zoom to every single island at the end of it, and this run could be a sub 30-minute run. It just really depends on the RNG of the islands and the RNG of the wind as well. So for this run, I do have some pretty good wind. Like, I'm going to go in between these rocks here. We're going to have a lot of close calls for this run, but we're here to be fast, not to be safe. So I go in between these rocks here just so I try not to beach myself. I do take some damage on my left hull. And we're going right through it. Don't even need to stop. Heading straight to that end island right at the end. Now, we actually get a cropster landing on here. And for this, I wasn't... So, during this, you'd have to walk away to lock on to actually be able to hit it correctly. I wasn't able to walk away enough because my camera kept spinning around me with this thing. So, on this point, we get a little beached on this rock. Take a decent amount of damage. I decided to take the left path through the rocks instead of keep going towards the right. At the end of the day, I should have gone to the right side. That being said, I think we get to have double Murtag time. So, during this run, Murtag got to speak just because I have a pet bot that speaks every 30 minutes. And I'm trying to figure out how to set it up, how I would like it to go correctly. And as we're also recording this, it's going to be in my same OBS. And this is me just checking what I have. So we're going to have double Murtag time. Which is weird, because the Murtag... We're not going to have much double Murtag, but we'll have Murtag asking us how we're doing. Which I think will be okay for this. Murtag's here, and I think it's okay. But we're pulling up on the end island of the second chapter already. Not even 7 minutes in, and honestly, so about this time right now is where I expect to end chapter 1, or at least I expect to get to the first crossing in chapter 1. Around this time, like 7-8 minutes, I'd be happy to get to the first crossing. Which honestly makes this chapter 2 very good. So, we can see here there's a lot of coral around me. And I think my boat is safe. We go to try and pop up this, I've learned that if the water doesn't look like you can get up, there are some ledges that, it just registers you that you're allowed to get up. And this is where I hear that my boat's getting beat. Now my boat's broken. So I have to make that split-second decision to run over to there and see what I can do to save it. This is, I noticed that the crobsters from the coral reefs are jumping off the coral reefs onto my boat. I didn't think it was far enough. So we take out the crobster that's fucking up my deck. We go for a second hull just to get it out of the way. I need it done now type of shit. I probably could have waited until we were in the crossing, but I chose to do it now to do some slight repairs. Just because I wanted to move my boat. I wasn't taking any second chances. Naturally so. That was a rough situation. And so I use that area just to get my ass to where I need to be. And we climb right up. And so now we get to see the use of the second clip going up the walls. So mainly jumping up the walls is going to be about the same progress as chapter 1. Sometimes it's slightly different. You know, there's no little section in that wall no more. We have this area here. So you like to line your left arm up into that crevice. Turn your hair to about that little black circle. And then you're going to want to go into attack mode. You're going to want to turn, go into attack mode, and then attack into that corner. You don't want to move forward too far. You just want to move forward just enough to turn. As you can see, it takes me a couple tries to get up this one. But we do eventually get close. And so, on top of one of the using this clip that I'm using to get up the wall, cutting up, there is also a way that you can just jump up these little corners. But so I finally get it there. Don't even have to jump up the corner. And so everything after chapter 1 does not lock your camera. So you can just zoom straight up. And so if you just hold E from interact to now, still holding E right now, you can get a pretty fast skip. Now we are already on the second crossing. Yuri. See, and I get a decent jump up onto my catamaran here. And we decide that it's just go time. We start to zoom through. So, you know, not the best wind to start off with, but, you know, this is the wind we're going to take. Not bad. You know, we hop off by the end of that third one, but shit did not look right. So we turn it back. We hop off just so it still registers that we're not on the boat or not controlling the boat so we can go faster. It's now for the second crossing. And, you know, I was shaking my mouse. I was a little upset because I had to rebuild everything. I wasted like another minute and a half right there. Could have saved a lot of time. But that's just going to be time save for next run. So I think that's going to be okay. But you can see we're going to take the outside left path here. Just because there's a lot more rocks, but there's just a clear straight pathway to the exit hall. So I don't have to worry about turning. I just have to worry about my speed. And I think that's one of my big problems is speed over turning. It's right here. I have a narrow miss on the left side for a rock and a coral reef because I was hitting too many B-hops from going too fast. As you can see, we have my mast even lower now because of it. So, we finally get some more momentum going. Already done with this chapter 2. Surprisingly enough, the chapter 2 I've done before, where I've actually had to collect material, it was faster. Which is crazy. The fact that collecting 4 bamboo and building the rest of the catamaran was faster than doing the New Game Plus with it. That being said, I lost a good minute and a half having to rebuild my boat. So, if I didn't have to rebuild my boat from those cropsters, things might be different. As you can see here, I try to get my things to set up so that way I can repair my bamboo hull. Because if I have the materials, I might as well. And so here, we can't really see what island I need to go to. I have a hunch it's where I'm facing right now, but I'm not really certain. But, so, I think around this time is when I get the definite confirmation that, yeah, the island I'm looking for is what I'm seeing. So it's in the distant horizon. But the worst part about it is that we're going into the wind. The nice part of that is just off-center a little bit that we can gain speed off of it. But with all of this off-center gaining speed wind, you can see I'm starting to tip. I'm starting to tip a lot. And so this is one of the ideas that I'm thinking I want to do for a later run later on. Which would be to have maybe wooden holes with the rest of the same thing I have. So that I wouldn't have this tipping but I would have the same amount of speed. But to do that, I'd have to go get an X from one of those Jabberjaw things. And that means I'd actually have to start playing the game. Which I might as well. It's about to get to that point. Because I'm going to have to do not have to do. I want to do a New Game Plus no major exploits run eventually after this one, because this one has the major exploit of glitching up the wall. But I want to do the no major exploit and actually, clear every tower. Go and clear the fight before it each time. Because I really do think I could do it pretty fast. And since I can start that one's can also be a New Game Plus, I can make a pretty crazy boat. But with right here, as you can see, I kind of not capsized, but I went straight down. So I lost all my momentum going into the water. And that's part of the problem I'm having with the bamboo, which is why I'm thinking it might be the play to have wooden hulls. Because I would have a little bit more weight, so I wouldn't have as much speed. But we're going to try and gain more speed. Try our best, use the wind to my advantage. There we go. Finally, we're making progress. We finally do get a cropster on the back, but it was an insta-kill off of that. Not complaining, not upset. So, for chapter 2, 3, 4, and 5, it is the exact same spot to clip up the walls. Exact same setup, too. Bare minimum about. So I do this one a little far off just because I was afraid of the cropsters. And afraid of having my boat attacked again. There we go. And I'm just waiting for the tide to pick me up so I can pop back up here. So it's the exact same pathing I was going up. Hit that rock, jump up onto this one. Then we got that slanted one. And we got to find the spot where we can put my arm. There we go. And honestly, that clip was really nice. And I was able to do that. Also, the wall jump I was talking about earlier. To where you can just jump in between a corner. And you can just jump your way up. That honestly was very nice as well. Very nice jump up. Very well to show both glitches that I was talking about. Do that same sprint jump, hop right on. Now we're going straight into the third crossing. This is where the crossings start to get more dangerous. There's just a lot of more shit to hit. But I think I'm not too certain, but like when the tentacles come out here, I'm not certain if it's too far away that it doesn't start a cutscene, but I still stop and get back onto it. You don't have to be off long for it not to give you the speed decrease. You just have to stop it once, or you just have to stop it while it's out there. So, as you can see here, we take a little more of the risky roads going through some of the fucking, through some of the rocks. Definitely very scary. But, high risk, high reward, as I like to say. During this whole time, we get to pet my cat. Give her the attention she deserves. But, so, we're going through this pretty nice and fast. We have to keep our sail still at half mast, so I'm wondering how much wood would change it. But as you can see here, we start to lose control. We were narrowly missing damage on the left and the right side. Able to pull control back at that end of the last one. But we're just narrowly getting it. Because of that, we're holding our sail as low as we can, just keeping it safe. We even start bee-hopping towards the end of this section. But we are able to make it out of the chapter 2 or chapter 3 running section. With this is going to put us into chapter 4. going in with a 21-second gold, which means that is the best time I have ever done compared to the 12 runs I have done with this timer. Putting us at 19 minutes and 38 seconds, finishing chapter 3, making us start chapter 4. Let's see. So that'd be 10 minutes, 13 minutes, almost a good 14 minutes ahead of schedule. And so with that, we do have to skim the outskirts of the fog island. So we can't really see where we're going. We're just hoping we get out of it, which we did full sail ahead to see just to get out so we could see where we're going. At this point, we're not really able to see the island I'm looking for. I did see that little crest. As you can see, I'm moving my mouse to the left side above that hill. And now I definitely see it here. As you can see, I'm turning towards it. And it all started with just seeing a little white speck above the crest of that island, or of that rock picture. And so now with the wind that's not terrible. It's not in our favor, but it's definitely better than what it could be. We can take that going into chapter 4 with a pretty decent and smooth sailing. Hydration break, thank you. And see, we can get around some of these islands that have fog. And so in a normal playthrough, when you go to those islands, they'd kind of be like an island that you've seen before. All right, so, get another cropster, easy, run away, just take it out, come right back. But, so back to that thing. On those islands in a base playthrough, you would go onto there, and they'd be islands like you'd seen before, in chapter 3 and 2. But they'd be covered with some blue slime. You gotta fight them. You gotta fight these creatures that come out of the blue slime, allowing you to get more ghostly enhancements. Unfortunately for this run, we don't have to touch them. And eventually, even when I do a New Game Plus, no major exploits run of this game, I do not think I'm going to be touching them anyways. That being said, is it an exploit if I get major height with my boat naturally and then just use my glider to skip stuff? Is that an exploit? We'll have to ask the community for that eventually. But so instantly I see the cropster come flying at me. I just stop sailing and try to lock onto it. Those cropsters over time do a shite ton of damage. And they go crazy. But, so with that, we have a now straight shot to the end island for chapter 4. And the wind is honestly doing pretty good in our favor. We can just head straight towards it. Honestly, already heading, we're like almost less than 10 minutes away from chapter 4's previous time. We're moving really good. This is what I would call a good... I call so far so good. Never want to jinx it. But so as we're coming up to it, there's a lot of jellyfish here. And, I tend to avoid them. But later on, you can see I just don't care. I just hit them. They don't do too much damage. And it only does damage to Kara, your player character, and your boat. So if your boat's at full HP... it doesn't do too much damage. So, getting off at the same spot as always. Just to pop up. Same whole section for chapter 4 as well. And honestly, it's very easy. Once you learn the setup, the split, getting up this line is super easy. You just have to make sure you don't overshoot it. So you can see, like right here, I'm lining up. I turned too much. You want to try and line her bun up in that black square. Because if you can't line her bun up in that black square, she does not go up all the way up the wall. And I'm trying to do it too fast here, as you can see, just because I'm trying to be fast. You know, it's a speed run, name of the game, but takes me a couple tries to get up this wall. Finally, slow down, still overshoot it just by a little bit. It is a little finicky, but with that, this is one of those glitches where you have to turn off VSync to do. I guess exploits. I keep calling it a glitch. But you can see I even use that little extra wall jump up to get up it. And now we are running to the end of chapter 4. We just have to do the sailing section, which super straightforward, as you've seen before. So with this one, I always forget that I could just turn completely around 180 degrees without having to spin my camera. I always forget that because it makes me dizzy. So we're sailing, going straight through, and this is also one of the ones that you can see that I'm not too certain whether or not me hopping off the boat because of how far it is away. I'm not certain if I hop off the boat there, if that actually matters because of how far. One second here. But as you can see, we're sailing. We're starting to zoom. I still have that half mast. As a, even with the or the grass sail, I've only had to test this with the grass hulls. So I'm not certain how it would be with the bamboo hulls. But with the grass hulls and the grass sail, I'd also have it at like maybe 3/4 mast because without it, I would dive forward and lose momentum. So it might be something of maybe bamboo hulls and a grass mast would be the play. But I don't know if I would lose too much speed on them.
Did you know you can pet me? Check out the pet cafe.
There we go. All right. And as you can see here, we are getting a lot of speed, even with no sail up. We're getting a lot of speed. And so we're trying to compensate by moving around, little speed here and there, little sail, big sail. And we pull up to the end of chapter 4. Feeling pretty good on this run. 27, almost 28 minutes. About 5, almost 6 minutes ahead of chapter 4. It's a 44-second gold right there. So in total, we've had a 5.5 minute, 5.33, plus a 22-minute or 22-second gold, which would make that, 5.54? And then another 4, so 8, 3, 6. So about 6.5 minutes of time save at the moment. And now we are going into chapter 5 with those time saves at 28 minutes. And we have one open world sailing section and one and then one chase sequence. But you can see here me getting a little bit of capsized into that water there, which is crazy, but also another evidence of why why wood hulls might end up being the play for this. Because I do believe the grass sail is necessary for having to go into, or not the grass, the bamboo mast is necessary for going into the wind. But I believe I'm going to need heavier hulls, which will have to be the wooden ones. I might be able to keep the bamboo deck. It'll be a test to see whether or not it's heavy enough. But it might be one of those things where I might also just choose to pick an extra, like, I'll do a wooden, like, a fabric sail and just add extra weight off the back so I don't capsize naturally. I might have to have a weird boat composition. But that'll be okay. Weird boat compositions are here to win. But as you can see, so we're kind of like actively searching for the island. I think we see it off in the distance all the way there. Took us a hot minute, but we're playing it semi-close to these shorelines and these coast areas here. Just due to the fact that once you start hitting a little bit into the areas of open water, you get these sharks, and they are not something you want to mess with. Just due to the fact that if you're not fast enough, they can take your boat out of your hands, basically, and run away with them. I've lost at least 2 to 3 runs to those sharks, and it's not fair. It's very angering. All right, and with that, you can see me just kind of whipping my camera around, trying to look around where I'm going, and what's around me. We know we have a long way to go to that final island over there. So part of me right now is already thinking of how I want to approach it. Because if I keep approaching it this way, eventually I'm going to run out of either area or wind. And my wind's going to make it to the point where I can't move. Or I'm going to run out of sea because I'm going to keep going too far to the right. So I have to balance it eventually by going to the left. To give myself some extra way to like zigzag towards it. Definitely not what I want for a final chapter. But out of all 4 chapters, this one has bad wind. It kind of makes sense. Or out of all 5, chapter 5 isn't going to be the one that does not have the best wind. It'll make sense. So this is where we finally turn to our left so we can get more speed going to the left side. Excuse me. So as we're going, as you can see, it's still barely getting into view. And I'm also thinking I might make a channel point for my Twitch later that is literally just says pet my cat. Because I just moved my cat tower closer to my desk to where she is right next to me while I'm playing games. Because I know she's lonely while I'm playing games. I also got to do some extra cleaning around the house. And make sure things are spick and span for her. But I think this change with the cat tower next to my desk, like right next to my chair even, is going to be a change for the better. Because now she can sit right next to me and we can relax. She can get on her cat tower, Dad can sit in his chair, and she and I can hang out. So, anyway, we're coming up to the final end island here. We're having to fight the wind a little bit as we're going into it. So we got half a sail, trying to zigzag going up and down. And with that, we're heading to the side of this island. All of the clips are all going to be on the right side of the islands towards one of the end areas. And I think it's weird. So the last like day or 2 of runs I've been doing in WindBound, these areas that I have to climb up on, a majority of the time they're underwater. Like the cliff spot that I need to climb up on to initially get in every time is normally underwater. But for like the last 2 days, they've been above water pretty high. So, and it's the one I've had to climb up on there. So with this, I get a really good jump up the wall, and we can sprint up. And we're going to be at the start of the chase sequence for Chapter 5, almost 10 minutes ahead of my previous best. I believe all the times I had on my splits today were from my previous best or my personal best, which would be my second place run that I eventually actually submitted today. Oh yeah. And so as you can see here, I like to call her the mother. She's not going to appear for the first area. So I use that to take full mast and get as much speed as possible. You know, I even undo the sail just in case because I'm not going to say I forget. I just want to be certain.
How is everyone?
And then we get the Murtag asking us how we are doing. What a pet. I just have him hidden right now for the run just due to the fact that there's already too much cluttering my screen with the speedrun timer. I don't think I should also add Murtag cluttering up my screen as well. But he still speaks, which is fun. But we're following the mother behind her giant waves. And we take some damage off our hull. Not enough to break it. You can see me shake my mouse in anger. Because I was upset that I hit that because I thought I had enough time to go over it. But, so as you can see here, I'm not going to say I'm not really paying attention enough. I go straight into one of the whirlpools, which leads me to losing all my momentum. Not a bad play. Honestly, it did cost me a couple seconds. But it was one of those situations where I'm glad it didn't do more. But I also lost my momentum here as I got spun around with the mother popping out of the water. And so one of the main problems with these this final chase sequence is that if you go too fast with some of the water waves that she pops out with, you flip. And it's a lot harder to regain your momentum and continue to go forward after you kind of like capsize. That being said, though, it is a really cool way to stop me from going too fast. An actual sailing mechanic that would make sense in the real world. Too much speed coming from the sail up top is going to push the boat forward, which will make it sink forward into the ship, so you need back weight. But the only way to make back weight is to add more stuff onto the back. And I don't really want to do that. Because when I make a 3x2 catamaran, it's really hard to go into the wind with that. But as we can see here, I barely missed the sub 38 run, but I am going to get a sub 40 run. And I'm going too fast for this thing to recognize, so it now hits me as I go into the portal. And with that, that's going to be a 38.05. You can see Kara floating into the water here. But, so, you know, there's definitely some things I can do better. That chapter 2 for one. You know, maybe not getting my little boat destroyed. But with that run, that's honestly a really good run. That was honestly really nice. I had a great time with that doing it. And as of me recording this, that is first place. That might change because I do plan on doing this run more often. But with me now achieving that, I'm going to shoot for the no major exploits. But thank you for watching. I had a great time doing this. Check out my Twitch. I try to stream during every weekday. I don't know the EST times, but they should be on my schedule with my Twitch. Also check out my speedrun.com. That's got a lot more of my runs and a lot more of what I do best. So thank you, and I'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.